The Galactic Council had been explicit in their warnings. Humanity's application to join the Interstellar Conservation Corps had been met with stern disapproval, particularly from the Vrexian delegation. Your species lacks the proper pheromonal signatures, Ambassador Kreth had stated, his scaled ridge flaring with disdain. Predator species recognize threats instinctively. Human biometrics, elevated body temperature, forward-facing eyes, exposed teeth when you display pleasure, all trigger prey, drive responses. You will traumatize the juveniles. Lyra had listened to the recording a dozen times during her 6-month journey to Refuge Station Kepler 442b. Each time she felt that familiar spark of defiance kindle in her chest. The same defiance that had driven humans to tame wolves into dogs, to communicate with whales, to teach gorillas sign language. The Council didn't understand humanity's greatest strength, their relentless, stubborn compassion. The station orbited a dying world. The Kariks, massive feline-like apex predators from Theta Cygni 4, had lost their homeworld to stellar radiation. Only 12 cubs remained, the last of their species, kept in specialized containment units. The facility was staffed entirely by Vrexians and Qualathi, species the Council deemed appropriate for handling dangerous juveniles. Lyra had been assigned to waste reclamation. A human's place, they'd decided. She hadn't listened. The first time she entered the habitat dome unauthorized, every alarm in her nervous system had screamed warnings. The cubs were the size of earth lions at just 4 months old. Their mothers would have stood 12 feet at the shoulder, with jaws that could crush titanium alloy. These juveniles had triple-jointed limbs, retractable crystalline claws, and bioluminescent stripes that pulsed with their emotional states, currently a distressed orange-red that painted the habitat in hellish light. The Vrexian handlers managed them through barriers using force fields and remote feeding systems. Necessary, they claimed, because the cubs were traumatized, unpredictable, dangerous. Lyra saw something else. She saw cubs that had watched their mothers die, their world burn. She saw children. The protocols were clear. No direct contact, no removal of safety barriers, no emotional attachment. Lyra broke them all. She started simply, sitting on her side of the barrier while the cubs fed, speaking softly. Not the trilling, Vrexian comfort sounds, those seemed to agitate them further. Just her voice, telling them stories about Earth, about snow leopards in the Himalayas, about lion prides in the Serengeti, about how humanity had once hunted these creatures to near extinction, then spent centuries learning to understand them, protect them, love them. The cub's bioluminescence gradually shifted from distressed orange to curious violet. The handlers noticed, of course. The human is disturbing the specimens, they reported, but the cubs were eating more, displaying less stress. The station director, a pragmatic Qualathi named Reshkal, allowed it to continue. 3 weeks later, Lyra made her decision. She disabled the barrier during a maintenance cycle, a trick she'd learned from a sympathetic engineer who'd lost her own world to war. The cubs were sleeping, their massive forms curled together in an instinctive pile that broke Lyra's heart. Without their species' adults to teach them, these behaviors would fade. They would forget how to be Kariks, unless someone remembered for them. Lyra sat down in the center of their enclosure and waited. The smallest cub, Tav, noticed her first. His eyes, iridescent gold and far too intelligent, opened. His stripes flared bright red. Danger signals. His siblings stirred. 6 juvenile apex predators, each weighing 300 pounds of muscle and instinct, suddenly alert. Lyra's heart hammered. Every survival instinct screamed at her to run. Her forward-facing predator eyes locked with theirs. Her elevated body temperature radiated in the climate-controlled habitat. She was everything the Council said would trigger their attack responses. She didn't move. Tav approached first, each step deliberate. His bioluminescence flickered through color spectrums, red to orange to yellow. Processing. Evaluating. His nostrils flared, taking in her scent. Adrenaline. Fear. but something else too. That strange chemical signature unique to humans, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, released when humans see babies, puppies, anything that triggers their caregiving instincts. She was afraid of him, but she loved him. Tav's stripes shifted to blue. Confusion. His massive head tilted, crystalline whiskers twitching. Then he did something that made Lyra's breath catch. He chirped. The sound juvenile carracks made for their mothers. A sound of trust. He pressed his forehead against her chest and collapsed into her lap. The weight knocked her backward. 300 pounds of apex predator rested on her sternum, purring, a subsonic rumble that made her bones vibrate. His siblings watched, stripes flickering uncertainly. Then, one by one, they approached. When the handlers found them an hour later, Lyra was buried beneath a pile of sleeping cubs. All 7 of them, stripes pulsing a contented green-blue, sprawled across the human who wasn't supposed to be trusted. Her arms wrapped around as many as she could reach, her face pressed against Tav's massive head, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ambassador Kreth arrived within a day. His scaled ridge flared in indignation. "This is precisely why humans are unsuitable," he began. Director Reshikal cut him off, gesturing to the observation screen. The cubs were actually playing, for the first time since the evacuation. Tav wrestled with his siblings while Lyra laughed, allowing them to practice their hunting techniques on her. She'd sustained numerous scratches, but she'd applied medical gel and continued. The cub's bioluminescence was a rainbow of healthy emotional states. "The human has done what your handlers couldn't," Reshikal said quietly. "She's given them a reason to survive." The council eventually amended their protocols. Humans were classified as paradoxically suitable for juvenile trauma cases. Too emotional, they noted in their reports. Unable to maintain proper professional distance, they meant it as criticism. Humans wore it as a badge of honor. Lyra stayed on Refuge Station Kepler 442b for 3 years, until the cubs matured enough to be relocated to a preserve world. On her last day, Tav, now towering over her at 9 feet tall, pressed his forehead against her chest one final time. His stripes pulsed gold. Gratitude. Love. "Remember." "I'll remember," she whispered. "We all will." As her shuttle departed, she thought about the council's warnings. They'd been right, in a way. Humans were different. Their body temperature, their eyes, their instincts, all marked them as predators. But they'd been wrong about what that meant, because humanity had learned something that millions of years of evolution had taught them. The greatest predators know how to protect. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing in the universe is someone who cares. The last image captured by the station's cameras showed 7 massive carracks, standing at the observation window, stripes blazing in perfect synchronization. A color never documented in their species before. Hope.